I want to change veins a little bit here and just talk. Let's talk a little bit about music and just playing drums.
Okay.
Now, when you write a part to the music that you're playing to, like, what's your thought process? Like, what do you do? Like, what kind of part do I play here? What kind of fill should I play here?
Mm-hmm. Well, from my experience being in as many bands as I've been in, there's a reason that I was in those bands, and most of that was because I was a song stylist. I'm a rock drummer, but I really offer my drumming as being a team player. I'm not there to be a showboat. I'm not there to show off. Obviously, I've got to be a lot of the energy behind the band. So I've got to kick the band in the ass, depending on what that song is. But it's all about tempo, and it's all about the feel of the music. So, for instance, when I was in the Cult was very much based in English rock and roll, and like some of their earlier stuff was really rock solid drumming. Rock solid. You can't be going like this on the meter, right?
Right.
Can't be messing around with that. So I was always very well known for having a pretty solid meter, meaning my time never fluctuated. I was like, I start the song at this tempo, and it ends maybe 2 BPM up, but not much. It doesn't go like, woohoo!
That's rock solid tempo.
So I got a lot of gigs because I was called, I was a solid drummer. Didn't mean I had to do 5,000 drum fills or any of that. Didn't mean that at all. And so that's sort of how I started to cut my teeth in rock and roll. I'm like, look, I'm the guy that's going to come in there and make the song sound great. Now, what can I add to give a song what would be called maybe a moment, a drum moment, meaning like a signature thing? Like, for instance, probably one of my most famous signature drum fills is off You Could Be Mine, which was a Guns N' Roses song off the Use Your Illusions albums. And it started with sort of a thing kind of like, maybe a bit of a Terry Bozzio kind of a trip, but I took it and made it into my thing. I was like, and I started the whole song. So I always looked for a way to set up the song. Like, what's it going to be that's going to pull people in? What am I going to say? It doesn't have to be something fancy, but it's got to be signature.
Yeah.
So all those little moments. Okay, if we decided, Slash, you're going to start the song. He had to come up with something that was spectacular. And then it would be, we'd switch up. Okay, Matt, it's on you this time. So I had to be the guy. And what are you going to do? The listener's going to go, this is either exciting or it's not. So you got to be able to go, okay. If it's just a flam thing, like the beginning of Nevermind, Team Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
That is so simple, but it's so in your face and so aggressive, and the sound of it and everything sonically, you were like, wow. As soon as I heard that, I was like, who is that guy? Dave Grohl. Or John Bonham, or any of those,
Right.
Or the beginning of rock and roll. That's it. As soon as he starts playing, you go, I'm in.
Yep.
So I always thought like that. And I think in retrospect, on quite a few songs, I did a pretty good job with it. It wasn't like I didn't sit down and like labor over it, but the music brought something to me that said, for instance, drummers have always given me a hard time about November Rain. Like I did this drum fill, I call it the Pat Boone, Debbie Boone. Pat Boone, Debbie Boone. But I looked at that more as a melody versus a drum fill. It wasn't about anything that had to do with being fancy at all. But the conversation between me and Axel was, okay, what are we going to do to this song that everybody in the band is going to have a musical idea that sort of lends itself through the whole song. It's a reoccurring thing.
Right.
So I came up with this Pat Boone, Debbie Boone thing that I did, like, I guess, 20 times in the song. And it became a signature fill fill through all the segments of the different changes. And it was really as if someone sang a background harmony, or someone maybe played a little riff or whatever that was like, oh, I know that. And now when you hear that song, you know that fill. It's not like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was a discussion that we had by listening to other music, like Elton John, Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me, was where I actually came from. And a great drummer, Nigel Olsson, who was Elton's drummer on all those early albums. He used to have the big tom set up, and they were single-headed. And you go, you know?
Yeah.
And it was like ballad, big rock ballad. So I was listening to that with Axl, and it went, boom, 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 shh. Don't let the sun go down on me. He goes, do something like that. And I was like, cool, I got it. So, I mean, there's a lot to be said about what the drummer can lend to the music. I mean, if you ever talk to a guy like Ringo Starr, I mean, listen to what he played on Come Together. The most simple thing, but it's the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be fancy. It's in boom, boom, down, flat top wheel. He's only going like that. But when it turns around, it's like, oh my God. Which I really pride myself on trying to be a part of the band in that respect. This is an old console that I bought out of Nashville, Tennessee. It used to be in a studio called Treasure Island, which recorded great country artists like Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, many, many great artists. And this is a classic British console that sounds great for drums. That's why I bought it. Because everything's about the drum sound, and then the rest is icing on the cake.